Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. For those of you who don't know me, hello, my name is Roger and I'm a graduated high school student living in the city of Rio de Janeiro. Today's video will be focused on procrastination and more specifically some of my own tips that are gonna help you guys stop procrastinating. And I think we're just gonna do this video next week because there are some insane tennis matches going on and I think I have to watch them, and honestly that just fits my schedule more. So yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Peace. Now, being an IB graduate, there were quite a lot of things that I had to get done, whether it's my university applications, my internal assessment, or extended essay, and hence being able to not procrastinate was extremely important to keeping me on track. In addition, procrastinating just kind of leads you further away from the things that you actually enjoy doing, like spending time with our family, hanging out with friends, or exercising. And these are exactly what I needed to prevent myself from burning out and keep going forwards. First off, I think it's important to understand the reasons behind why we procrastinate. On the surface, procrastination does seem to be quite a bit irrational. Why would we purposely delay a task knowing that we'll be better off otherwise? And there are two answers to this question. Number one, time consistency, and number two, our emotions. Now, to be clear, procrastination is different from delaying a task because we need to talk to someone who isn't available or not getting around to reading a literary classic such as Moby Dick. Procrastination, as defined by a study conducted by the University of Sheffield, is the voluntary, unnecessary act of delaying an important task despite knowing that you'll be worse off for doing so. Now, there's this terminology in behavioral psychology called time consistency. It is known as the propensity of the brain to value immediate rewards more than future rewards. To better understand this, picture yourself as two individuals, your present self and your future self. Now, when you're setting goals for the future, such as becoming a straight A student or living a healthier lifestyle, you're making plans for your future self. While it is easier for a future self to value long-term rewards and targets, it is your present self that is taking immediate action. Hence, when the time to act comes, it is no longer your future self that is making that decision. Instead, it's your present self, the one that values instant satisfaction more. And that's how procrastination starts, simply delaying tasks because your present self finds no satisfaction in doing so. Now, of course, everyone wants to avoid watching Netflix, playing video games, and going out with friends to the bar every day, but the fact is that the consequences are just years away. And that's why we find ourselves going to bed the night before thinking we're gonna live a completely transformational and productive life the next day, as some call beast mode, you know, studying 12 hours a day, waking up at 4 a.m, doing study with me streams, you know, all that stuff, and then waking up the following day only realizing that we've gone back to our old selves. Don't get me wrong, I've caught myself guilty doing this all the damn time, and I kind of regret doing this, so that's why I'm making this video, I guess, making sure that you guys don't fall for the same traps I did. Second of all, humans always had this inability to deal with negative emotions around certain tasks. And that's why we rarely find ourselves procrastinating on fun things. Rather, we procrastinate on activities that are boring, stressful, and challenging, like studying. And sometimes it can even be because of low self-esteem, constantly worrying about that we can't get the task done correctly. Hence, when we schedule time for these tasks sometime in the future, the tension and negative emotion surrounding them kind of disappears. We actually feel really satisfied because we've planned our time and scheduled time to complete this task in the future, even though they might be weeks or months away. However, the problem with that is we eventually have to catch up on them and suffer possible consequences for not completing them. Since we can't rely on long-term motivation to stimulate our present selves, we have to try and shift those future rewards to the present. And that's exactly what happens when we stop procrastinating and start taking action. Let's say I have several university applications that I must write, but somehow decide to procrastinate for weeks. Then finally, it's one day before the deadline and I start writing. That's when procrastination escalates to the action stage. However, we can't just leave everything until the last moment and use a final deadline as something to stimulate and motivate us from procrastinating. If we observe carefully, however, the most painful stage of procrastination is actually the stage right before taking action. It is when we feel guilty and shameful about not doing what we're supposed to do. The problem, therefore, is not doing the work, it's actually starting the work. Hence, the best way to tackle procrastination is actually really simple, is just to get going. If you guys really want to stop procrastination, just please, for the love of God, get going. Please. Now, the first tip I have is time. Realizing the existence of time is crucial when it comes to stopping procrastination. I really like to have a plan or an idea of how I'll be spending my day before it even starts. For this, I like to use Notion or a physical to-do list. Now, as mentioned in my previous video, I just really like ticking off the tasks that I've accomplished throughout the day, and it really gives me a sense of proudness and motivation. Just being able to visualize myself being productive is a huge morale boost. And this is how I managed to sustain a consistent streak of productivity rather than small bursts lasting only weeks or months, which I believe is a problem that you guys might have. And for that, I recommend the Ivy Lee method. I've implemented the daily highlight, which I'll talk more about later on, into the method and find it fantastic. The method is divided into the following 5 steps. Step number 1. At the end of each day, set 6 most important tasks that you would like to complete the following day. It's not 7, it's not 8, it's not 9, it's 6. Step number 2. Order those 6 tasks in level of importance, with the most important one being your daily highlight, meaning that you have to make time no matter what to accomplish it. Step number 3. On the following day, start from the first task and complete only one task before moving on to the next. Step number 4. At the end of the day, move any unaccomplished tasks to the list for the following day. And step number 5. Repeat. I find this method fantastic as it's relatively simple to implement and hence easy to get started. It forces you to make decisions and prioritize any important tasks, eliminating any distractions. In addition, it reduces friction as you don't have to make any decisions when it's time to get started and can hence start working immediately. It's simple, but it works. Something that I also find really useful is scheduling something fun for every day. Then I'll try my absolute best to finish everything before going out with my friends, making sure that I feel no regret about going out there and relaxing. Like so, I would have accomplished all the tasks that I would like myself to accomplish that day while being able to relax and prepare for the next day. Alright, now the second tip I have for you guys is a daily highlight. Now, living in today's world, there just seems to be more and more tasks for us to accomplish. There's always a never-ending list of to-dos, emails, and meetings that just takes up a lot of our time. Personally, I think this contributes quite a lot to us procrastinating, as our end goal, which is completing all the tasks, is basically unreachable. And hence, we just have zero urge, zero motivation to start acting and simply just procrastinate. Therefore, I think the reasonable first step would be setting yourself a challenging yet achievable goal, also known as a daily highlight in the book Make Time. A daily highlight is basically something you want to save time for and protect in your calendar. It can range from anything like an extracurricular activity, spending time with your family, or studying. You can also change your daily highlight if you're not feeling like it that day. However, do know that the daily highlight is not the only thing that you should accomplish. As Jake and John, the authors of the book Make Time, says, focusing on a daily highlight stops the tug of war between infinity pool distractions and the demands of the busy bandwagon effect. It reveals a path where we're not only chasing after to do, but rather being intentional and focused about how we spend our time. This really helps when we feel overwhelmed about the number of to-dos that we have to accomplish, as it gives us a feeling that we've lived every day to its fullest. Now, the third tip I have for you guys is to shape your future. One of my favorite tools to overcoming procrastination are the 4 laws of behavioral change from the book Atomic Habits. If you want to watch less Netflix, for example, just simply unplug the power cable from the TV, making procrastination harder and less convenient. If you want to spend less time on your phone, just simply set 0-minute time limits for the applications you want to spend less time on. Like so, when you're trying to access those applications, there will be a notification telling you that your time limit is up. Before proceeding, just ask yourself the following 3 questions. 1. Do I really need to be using my phone at the moment? Number 2. Is there anything else that I could do instead of checking my phone? And number 3. How long will I use it for? After answering these questions, you're going to have a general idea of if you really need to be using your phone, if you're procrastinating, or if it's just a habit of yours. And then you can proceed based on the answers of your questions. However, do realize that if you set time limits for apps like Instagram and WhatsApp, you won't be receiving any notifications when the time limits are up, so that's up to you guys. Now, tip number 4 I have for you guys is making the tasks easier to accomplish. As I mentioned previously, the friction between procrastination and action usually is starting the task. Hence, it is a good idea to reduce the size of your tasks, making them smaller and easier to start. And now for this, I have 2 tips that I want to share with you guys. The first method is to implement something called the 5-minute rule. The principle is basically telling yourself that you'll be only working on something for 5 minutes and get started with the task first. And then once you get started with the task, you have a tendency to continue working and hence stopping procrastination. The second tip I have for you guys is to break down bigger tasks into smaller tasks. When I'm revising for my final exams, for example, I just have a lot of subjects and contents for me to go through in such a short period of time. Hence, I don't plan my day like I'll study physics today and I'll do math tomorrow. Instead, I might plan the day out like the following. Today, I'll study a bit of forces, mechanics, thermophysics, and waves, and tomorrow I'll maybe do a bit of functions, differentiation, and integral. Like so, I've kind of tricked my brain thinking that despite there will be more tasks for me to complete, these tasks are smaller compared to the ones that I've mentioned previously, and my brain are more prone into doing these tasks than accomplishing the bigger ones, so I'm less prone to procrastinating. In addition, breaking down these tasks just gives me a sense of efficiency as I'm theoretically completing more tasks, and it kind of gives me the momentum to push myself forwards into studying more and being more productive. Now that you've got into the zone of being productive and not procrastinating, the question is, how do you maintain this streak? Just like reducing your screen time on your phone, we can make the tasks that we actually want to accomplish more visible. For example, if you want to exercise exercise more, you can place your running shoes somewhere you can see all the time. Or if you want to study more, you can maybe place your pens and books on your desk the night before. It's much more easier to start something when your environment nudges you in the right direction. On a personal note, I always found myself guilty checking YouTube and Instagram on my computer all the time. And all I did was simply just unbookmarking them from my Chrome browser, and I kind of didn't even check them for a month or so. And believe me, a simple act like that does work. Visual cues not only help us to get started with a task, but also give us the motivation to keep going. For example, I always had the problem of procrastinating when it came to reading, and I knew this had to change. Hence, I implemented visual cues to help me change this habit. I make sure to stack all the books that I've read so far in a place that is easily visible so that I'm constantly reminded of my progress and how much I've accomplished so far. I'm also using a calendar to track my progress, how far I came, and basically how consistent I am. The more we visualize our progress, the more we continue. So yeah guys, that's gonna be the end of today's video, and I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys want to stay tuned for future videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions for future videos, make sure to comment in the comment box below. Wishing everyone an absolute fantastic 2023 full of productivity. Thank you guys so much all for watching, and until the next one, peace.